What's going on, everybody? What's up? I'm RJ. We are back with the Helping Friendly podcast. So thrilled to bring this back, and even more thrilled to be talking about Phish concerts again. Hope everybody's doing well. We are going to be doing this after every show at 1 p.m. Eastern, and we have a special guest who I'm going to bring in a second, who was at the show last night, but I just want to tell you that we'll be doing this every day at 1 p.m. Eastern after a show, and we'll be releasing podcast episodes on the Helping Friendly podcast, recapping each part of the tour on Tuesday mornings. So follow us, subscribe, do everything that you need to do. The people asked us that we bring back the Helping Friendly podcast, so here we are. We need to talk about last night, so I am going to bring in Brian Welker. Brian is the head of marketing for our amazing sponsor, Shift Genuine Cannabis, and Brian was at the show last night. What's up, Brian?
Hey, RJ. I didn't realize I was the special guest. I thought you and I were interviewing a special guest. I didn't realize it was me. If I had known that, I would have ordered up some catering or something. I did not realize it was me.
It's you, man.
Right
Welcome.
Thanks.
Oh man, can you believe that it's back? It's incredible.
It was amazing. I can believe it was back. It's been 2 years personally since I saw the band, and the energy was great. I loved it.
Yeah. So you flew out from Colorado. I know you're doing last night, and then you're doing Alpharetta as well, right?
That's right, and Nashville. I'm going to get 5 of the first 6 shows. Yeah.
Amazing. And you're from Alabama, right?
That's correct. I'm from Alabama.
But you're skipping Alabama. You think they're going to bust out a Harpua in your absence?
Yeah, it might happen, but you know how it is. I have kids and business, and you got to catch what you can catch.
You got to catch and it's all gravy at this point.
Yeah, that's right.
What was it like being in the lot and being at a venue for the first time in years?
It was great. It was like being back home. I thought the venue and the town was great. Very, Southern hospitality. The people were great. The venue I thought was great. The band was a little rusty, but so was the crowd. But as if there's one thing Brad Sands taught us is it's all about the energy. And I thought the energy was great, Did they nail and land everything perfectly? No, but man, if you listen to that Disease last night into Simple, then that was, that lets you know everything's going to be just fine.
A pretty solid outing for a first show in years, literally. But Brian, what was the pre-show scene like? I mean, I assume it was just high energy, people just going nuts everywhere.
Totally. And it was kind of interesting. I think there would have been a lot more high fives without the COVID, but the energy was great. The lot scene was wonderful. Our crew shows up well, and everybody was happy. It was good. A little, personal opinion, a little too chatty during the shows. We could have a little, when Big Red puts the guitar on, we should probably just keep it to a whisper.
Yeah.
But that would be my only criticism.
Everyone was overly enthusiastic.
Overly enthusiastic for sure.
So we met in person last week. We got to tour the Shift cannabis facility out in Colorado, and we were talking about the opener. And it was interesting because they dropped into it, and the band had clearly practiced it. But what was the fan reaction like to I've never needed like this before?
It was great. Although I think they could have came out and acapella Star Spangled Banner and had the same reaction from the crowd. It's certainly an obvious choice. Always good to see a debut, right? Always good to get that little box checked. And it was super high energy, and it was interesting because the words of the songs kind of took on different meaning. You know what I mean? The cheers during certain songs were different than normal, right? Especially in Free, there was, extemporaneous cheering for lyrics that normally don't get it. So great high energy right into the tube. And it was interesting. They dropped really funky into the tube. And I thought maybe they were going to really settle in. Right. And it was and Page was just whatever that thing he was beating on was just, Funk City. And but Trey cleaned it up and they pulled out of it pretty quick. I thought, for me personally, the Wolfman's was like the highlight of the musically of the first set, for sure.
Yeah, it went pretty deep and pretty funky. I mean, I think that it seems like in a show like that where they're really getting their bearings, going into a simple jam, you know, with not too many changes, it's just a nice groove.
Yeah,
and
dude.
It seemed like it worked.
For sure. And did you notice it was all almost 1.0? Like all the big stuff. There was only what was it? Drift While You Were Sleeping. And can we consider Rise Up? That was 2017. We consider that 3.0?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it's 4.0.
So yes, if this is 4.0, I mean, okay, like we're not here to debate that, or I guess we could, but I would want some more people on the panel to debate that, right?
Yeah.
But if you take the Drift in the Rise Up, that was our only 3.0 songs. Everything else it was 1.0 and fat. You know, it was like at one point during the Wolfman's, I like opened my eyes and I was like, wow, this could be like 1997 summer tour through the South, man. It looked the same. It was swampy and muggy and sweaty and beautiful. It was great.
It seemed like the daytime set was, you know, it was still light, but you had the slow, funky Tube. You had the slow, funky Wolfman's. Like it felt very summer vibes.
For sure.
And I hear it was incredibly hot.
It was murderously hot coming from Colorado. It was like being dropped into like the desert. But I also think that you know, the band definitely. Okay, so I felt like, my personal opinion, I felt like they really kind of were trying to get their bearings in that first set. And this is like a high performance race car that they haven't driven. And you know, it takes a minute to like the energy and like the sound and everything. It takes a minute. And so I really feel like they were working through it in that first set. And then they really landed hard with that drifting at the end. And, you know, I was once told by this really successful businessman that it's how you end a relationship that matters. And so that ender of that first set was I think, a great kickoff to the Disease Simple opener.
I was going to ask, what do you think about that? I feel like there might have been some audible sighs from the audience with Drift While You're Sleeping, but I really like that song, and I think they do it well.
Okay, first of all, personal opinion. If you believe that you are part of the energy in that audience, okay, then it is your fault if you don't like Drift While They're Sleeping that they played it. You must have been putting that out there. So like to have a sigh and like walk out is a little like, you know, I mean, come on, you're part of the reason they played it. Secondly, they can play whatever they want to play. All right.
I agree.
And I was dying to get that song. It's the first one I personally have seen with Phish, right? And I loved it when it dropped into the reggae part, and like it was awesome. I thought Drift was great. I don't think
first set.
Yeah, I thought it was a great first set. I think that they didn't land in some spots that they wanted to, but who cares? In my opinion.
Yeah. Well, so we're going to talk about the second set. First, I want to say thanks everybody for tuning in. I can see your comments, and I know Jerry Nash is, I hope you don't mind if share this, Jerry. He said it was a 3-shirt show, which is a good way to put it.
Totally.
And everyone who's watching, please continue to throw questions, comments, yell at us, whatever you want to do while we're talking. So, Brian,
you can yell at RJ, but please don't yell at me.
That's fair. That's how it goes. I'm here to accept that's what I've been doing for years, accepting people yelling at me for my bad Phish opinions. So it seems like Down with Disease was maybe the most obvious second set opener, but as it's like one of the most common, but it seemed like they kind of got into it pretty quickly, and the jam was really good.
The jam was really good, and it was a great old school second set swampy opener. And the energy was really great. Like people were getting busy. Like it was professionals only up front for sure. When Disease kicked in, I personally felt like Trey pulled the ripcord on it a little too soon. I listened to it again this morning. I went for a nice run this morning and listened to the Wolfman's and the Drifting and the Disease Simple again, just to hear it again with fresh ears. And I didn't feel like at the show he pulled the ripcord, but this morning when I was running, I really felt like they could, and I think that is something they'll push through during the summer, right? Like as summer progresses and they kind of settle in, I think they'll start pushing that stuff further and further. But it really puts a smile on my face because you can see from that little segue right there with those two jams that it's all there.
Yeah, I have to say the segues, the down keys into simple and then the into fuego, the segues were really smooth, which is cool.
Totally.
I'm gonna put another comment up here from our friend. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say his real name. Glad. Sorry if I missed it, but
Glad.
the lights.
Dude, the lights.
Tell us about the lights.
So Kuroda, yeah. So during that Disease and Simple, Kuroda took these new light rigs out for a walk, and it was sick. Like he's got LEDs on the front of the panels, right? And so like he literally now has hundreds of lights that he can control individually. And the panels are flat with a single strobe and then another strobe. You know, the strobe that has all the big, like 5 circles in it, right?
Yeah.
So it's got a single strobe, one of those, another single, and one of those. And the panel's got this LED. And he was waving them, and it gives him a three-dimensional, even more three-dimensional aspect. Kuroda was crushing it for the Disease and the Simple. Like, it was almost overwhelming. Like, it was almost taking away from me, like, hearing the music because it was so cool. Again, a personal aside, it scares me a little when they're like moving the lights. It feels like an unnecessary risk. But that's me personally. It does scare me a little. But CK was like that segue of those two songs, like that was unbelievable. And I can't wait over the next 5 shows I see to see how he because he hasn't pulled everything else. He hadn't pulled everything out. Right, like he's still saving some tricks that we haven't seen yet on that thing.
Yeah,
and I can't wait to see what they are. But yeah, the lighting rig was super cool. I hope glad I've done a good job explaining it. I'm sure there's a ton of pictures online, but super cool. I really like the new lighting rig for the summer.
So a few more highlights from the second set we have to talk about. I think the Simple was the jam of the night, and I thought for a first show of the tour, not to mention the first show in a long time, I thought it was really good and pretty deep.
Really good. Yeah, and they were doing that, like, what do they call it? The plunking, the placato or staccato.
Yeah, staccato. Yeah.
It was really cool. Like, it was cool. And the lights were cool. I thought that those two were the jam of the night for sure. Like, the Disease had a lot of sentimental value for me. You know what I mean? Like, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree with you that the Simple was the jam of the night.
So they were, Trey seemed to be pretty energetic all night, and you can always tell, like, in the Runaway Gym when he goes straight into Weekapog, he just can't help himself. He's, what did you think about, like, your view of the band and how they were enjoying the night? 'Cause they must have been a little nervous, but I'm wondering what it looked like from in there.
Yeah, I feel that they must have been a little nervous, right? And again, I think it was like such a powerful energy, like, hit when it came. I literally take it. I think it took that all the way up to Wolfman's for them to kind of like start to get settled, just because the energy was so like it was crazy. Like, we'd all waited so long, you know. We'd all waited so long. It was funny because they went into the gym, into the Weekapog, and you know, I was back a pretty good ways, probably 50 yards or so from Trey, and it looked like to me, I don't know if you were watching on webcam, RJ, or on the webcast, but it looked like to me that Trey looked back at Fishman and kind of was like, I guess we're going into Weekapog, right? Like, that's what it looked like to me. And then I leaned over to my wife and I was like, let's see if he can bring it back, right? Like, let's see. And then, of course, you know, he just filthily brought it right back into the Runaway. But I thought that Fishman was driving a lot. I feel like it was like a Fishman was really driving a lot of the show and really driving a lot of the jams. Mm-hmm. I feel that him and Trey weren't quite synced on some of the, especially in Fuego. I feel like they were missing some of the normal, like, you know, crescendos where they would peak a little bit and, you know, Trey winds it up and they pop it, right? And I think they were missing a few of those. But it's, you know, they just gotta get this car back out on the road a little bit. And they'll have that hammered out. You know?
I like that metaphor. And a late second set rift, which is always interesting and
obviously practice that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, not a great call typically, but you know, in terms of in terms of
I loved it.
the precision, but they kind of nailed it.
I loved it. I thought it fits the set, dude, with all the 1.0 like songs. Like there was no soul songs, there was no Blaze On or Everything's Right, none of that. Right? There was 1.0 heavy hitters, and you know, the riff I thought fit in there perfectly.
So we have to talk about The Slave, because when I was listening back this morning, I was like, man, why is Fishman defacing our slave to the traffic light with these noises? And he confirmed on Facebook that he was indeed behind those noises. Did that take away from your slave experience at all?
I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what it was. But like, again, Fishman can do whatever he wants. He can slap on whatever pedal or box or whatever the hell he wants to hit on back there. Fine. Yeah. But yes, it definitely like snapped me out of it for a second. I was like, did I hear that? Like, what was that? But I haven't re-listened to that. I've only listened to the 4 songs this morning, so I haven't had a chance to re-listen to that. And then there was the what was the slow? It was If I Could, right? That was the breather. The harmonies were sick on that, and that always has a, you know. I saw my first show in '98, so like I saw that song several times, and that has a sentimental value to me, and I loved it. I thought the harmonies were great.
That's awesome. That's a really cool song to hear, and not very common to hear that right off the bat in an opener in this day and age. So I have to ask Brian,
only breather, I think.
I mean the second set was straight through. I mean, it was a solid effort, and you can tell that they've been practicing. I know they've been rehearsing a lot. So that shows. What I have to ask you, did you feel safe? Like what did it feel like from coming out of a pandemic, going into a crowded venue perspective?
I didn't know what you meant. I was like, well, I always feel safe at a Phish show. Like, these hippies are safe people. Like, I mean,
that's generally true though, right?
Okay. So, like the pandemic, I think is like a total personal thing. For me personally, I've been vaccinated. I'm done. Like I didn't think about it. We're outdoors. All the shows that we're seeing are outdoors. At least I'm sure they did that on purpose, the band, you know what I mean? Like, there were definitely people in masks, which is, I could care less, obviously. But I personally totally felt safe, especially being outdoors. Good. But it was interesting because, tickets were expensive on the secondary market, but they were like giving them away before the show. There was, it was interesting. I thought it would be a bigger crush, but the consensus seems to be, although not scientific, that it was the COVID thing that pushed some people away and freed up some tickets. It seemed to be full though, I will tell you that.
Yeah, but do you think, everyone who wanted to get in got in?
For sure. Everyone who wanted to get in got in. I saw several on tickets. Somebody told me they just gave them a ticket. Like it was, tickets were going around.
That's amazing.
Yeah, totally.
So what are your expectations for the next several shows now that you got this one under your belt, just in terms of, I don't know, any perspective?
Yes, I am. From what I saw last night, I am expecting us to like gradually ramp up. And by the time we get to our Dick's Run in Vegas, Dick's Run in Denver, which I will mention, we're going to have the big orange shift tents out. Be sure you guys come and find us at Dick's. We'll be there all 3 days in the parking lot. And we've got something really special on Sunday that we're going to be doing that I know you all will want to be part of and be at. So I think I'm expecting the band to just get better and better. And I'm expecting by the end of Nashville for us to be like firing on all cylinders. And it was great. I will also say, I think Paige was like, just as a side note, I think Paige was on fire last night too. He was, you can tell that what Paige has been doing during the pandemic, and it ain't sitting around his house sipping tea. I mean, he may have been in between playing the piano.
Right. Because they're all really practiced, man.
Yeah. They were all really sounding great last night for sure.
Brian, I want to ask you a question. You work in the cannabis industry. We mentioned at the beginning, you are the marketing lead for Shift Genuine Cannabis, which is our sponsor. And thank you for bringing HFPod back. I know you and I have talked a lot about cannabis in terms of the healing properties and that sort of thing. And I feel like a lot of the times, for me at least, a Phish show is where I like get into and maybe even work through some things I've been thinking about for a long time during jams and during kind of getting deep and getting back in touch with myself. Did that happen to you at all last night after so long?
I try to make a really conscious effort to be in the moment at the show and try to really be paying attention to the music, which I'll say again, as a audience, we were a little rusty too. So on the, just this extracurricular chatting when the band is playing, we would appreciate if you could just
it's not allowed.
Tone that down just a like you should have to lean over and stick your ear or your mouth in the person's ear that you want to talk to for them to be able to hear you, right? So I try to always be in the moment at the show and really focused on the music, and it's hard, right? It's really hard. And so my reflection, it comes later when I listen to the show several hundred times and an exercise. That's when I really delve deep into it. But I try to really be in the moment at the show and listen to the show.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, all right. So we're going to be talking a lot more with you, Brian, and we have a bunch of cool stuff coming, as you mentioned, which we'll be talking about in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
What else? Any parting thoughts on the show last night?
Yeah, stay hydrated. That seems to be an important message for the tour so far. And I'm just super excited. Shift Cannabis is super excited to be part of this. We have all kinds of fun stuff lined out for you guys. As we are a Colorado cannabis company, we're really gonna land hard at Dick's and have all kinds of fun stuff for the HPod audience. It's gonna be really fun. We can't wait for the next few months and for summer tour.
Thanks for joining, Brian. I'm gonna let you go, and then I'm gonna wrap it up a little bit.
Right
but
on.
Thank you. Safe travels.
Yeah.
I'll see you soon, man.
We'll see you in Atlanta.
All right.
Yeah.
Peace. All right. Thank you guys for joining that conversation. If anyone has questions or anything to say, please post it in the chat. Just want to say thanks for tuning in, and thanks again to Shift. I want to say hi to Jillian, who's watching. Who I'm going to just put your comment up here. Can't wait to walk into Hershey and work through a lot of stuff via the music. Tears of joy will flow. I'm sure a lot of you are feeling that as well. It's gonna be intense, So I hope everybody's having a good time out there, and thank you so much for tuning in. I will be back with you after the Alabama show. So we'll see you guys soon. Thanks so much. Bye.